Welcome to Warchant TV, and we've got some news. It's not the best news. You know, it seems like Ira, when you and I get together, sometimes it's bad news to talk about, but the latest is Khalan Laborn, former five-star running back, has been dismissed from the team. Ira, and I'm joined by Ira Schoffel, managing editor. And, so obviously that's a big loss. I mean, there's been a little bit of attrition in the offseason, but this might be the biggest blow for Florida State. Just, I guess the immediate thing, Ira, is what is the impact of losing a guy that, maybe not your starter, but, one thing with Mike Norvell, he likes to play several running backs, and there's no doubt that a Khalan Laborn with all that talent was going to be a contributor this season.
Well, it's definitely just kind of accentuates how important it was to get Jashaun Corbin to transfer him from Texas A&M at the end of last season, and then to get him eligible and to get him in the spring, so he was able to go through some of the spring workouts. Khalan Laborn was always just kind of a mercurial figure at Florida State. I mean, he came in as a five-star recruit, was as talented as any running back in the country, one of the top very few running backs in the country, all-purpose back. And just for one reason or another, it just hasn't worked out. His freshman year, he redshirted. He was very frustrated about that. We had heard that maybe Jimbo Fisher and that staff weren't thrilled with some things from a maturity standpoint. Then he comes in 2018, looks really good right off the bat, then gets injured, can't really play. Last year he was a backup. He was okay as a backup. It wasn't like obviously Cam Akers was a really good running back, and it wasn't when Khalan got in, he never did anything to make you think, oh, well, he needs to definitely be playing more than Cam Akers. But this would have been his season. He's 2 years away from the injury. He's kind of one of those tricky situations because sometimes a guy comes in and they get a bad reputation and never do anything to, get people on their side. And then you just kind of you're waiting for that player to be removed from the program. Khalan was a little bit different. I mean, he did have some issues here and there. He was suspended from a game here or there, but he also had a lot of people on his side in his corner. He had a really good personality. You and I both talked to him. I think a lot of people were rooting for it. I spoke to some FSU coaches earlier this summer, and they said that they saw some real encouraging signs. And then, unfortunately, something happened. He violated team policy, and he's off the team. So it's just really one of those frustrating things because he is so talented. But you talk about how big of a loss it is, and it's hard to equate because really he never has lived up to that potential since he got to FSU.
Well, here's the thing why I think it is because you just have such a lack of experience. Jashaun Corbin, sorry. He's got Division I experience. He's played at a high level, so the transition probably not too difficult. But really after that, he was the only guy with real experience to show you these were the guys coming back in a story you wrote the other day, Ira, on the running backs. But after Laborn, I mean, you look at that. I mean, other than the Deontay Sheffield, I mean, really, there's no experience coming back, which means, effectively you're going to have to rely on some of these young guys. I mean, coming in, and you did a good write-up on Warchant. You can talk about some of those guys. I mean, who do you think out of these newcomers to kind of fill that role? And let's just assume Mike Norvell's not going to go workhorse running back. He's going to follow the trend as what he's done, and that's 2-3 running backs are getting a lot of reps in this system. Who, after Corbin, do you see is going to be a guy that's going to contribute a lot out of these newcomers?
Yeah, I think LaDamian Webb is going to be the obvious choice. Now, he's a little bit undersized. He's well under 6 feet tall. He's kind of a more compact, shorter running back. But he was tremendously successful high school running back in Alabama, was the state player of the year, I think, as a junior, and did well in junior college, but only played the one season. But I think the fact that he's got that age, he's a couple years out of high school, and also the fact that he's been a really decorated, productive running back, I think there's a really good chance he'll be at the front of the line. Now, the difference is Deontay Sheffield has been in the program for 2 years, or for 3, going on to his 4th year. And he came in as a guy that Jimbo Fisher was going to put on running back, but going to put on scholarship, brought him as a walk-on. Then Jimbo left, and Willie Taggart never did. So he's still a walk-on, but he showed in the bowl game he could play. So I think those are 2 guys, Deontay Sheffield and LaDamian Webb, are 2 guys who are grown men. I think they're most likely to contribute right away. But then they've got a lot of other guys that are talented. As you mentioned, Lawrence Tofili, freshman running back, was a 4-star recruit out of Pinellas Park, Florida. And then they have the 2 kind of speedsters. Well, one speedster in Corey Wren and Ja'Kai Douglas, who was here in the spring. And those 2 guys are guys that could probably play running back and receiver. They'll probably flex out and play multiple positions. But as you said, I mean, Mike Norvell has shown he likes to get his guys the ball in different situations. But in terms of that running back role, I do think Jashaun Corbin, he's got the body to take a lot of carries. I would think he'll take the most. And then LaDamian Webb and Deontay Sheffield probably right behind him.
I would have liked to blame Corey, but I saw you did the preview on the running backs. Usually Corey is the kiss of death.
That actually was Corey.
Oh, it was. You had your name on
Corey.
it.
Did
Okay. Yeah, as your name. I think Corey went and switched it. He probably saw they were leaving and put your name on it. So that makes sense. I saw they go, wait a minute. How can that be? Usually Corey's a kiss of death. So man, don't have Corey preview any more positions. We don't need to lose more players. But I'll say one thing, going back and recruiting, you kind of wondered at the time, why did Norvell and this new staff sign so many running backs? I mean, now it's prophetic. I mean, obviously they need them. But I do think part of that is a system. He likes to run a lot of guys, but it's a good thing he did that, or they could be in trouble right now, or Corbin doesn't get his eligibility. So, I mean, it's not great news, but at least it's a position where they've got some depth. Not a lot of experience, obviously, but a decent amount of depth, some talent there. So I think Mike Norvell and the staff will make the best of it. Well, I appreciate your input on this, and, hopefully we won't have too many more of these things, and we can talk about the open of preseason practice, hopefully coming up here in a few weeks. Across our fingers, everything works out. But thanks for joining us. If you like this video, you may not like the video. Hopefully you like what we're doing here. Give me some news. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe down in my lower right-hand corner. You can do that too. And, of course, keep it on warchant.com. Warchant30 for that 30-day free trial. Have a good one, Ira. Thanks for it.
Thanks.